Welcome to the Mayor of Money podcast with former Burlington Mayor Rick Goldring of Goldring Financial Leadership. In this podcast, we provide successful business owners, including doctors and dentists, with insights to minimize tax and risk while maximizing retirement income and future legacy. Join us for this journey as Rick draws from years of experience and guest experts, including successful entrepreneurs, to provide unique strategies and approaches to estate and financial planning matters, as well as business in general. Now, on to the show.
So my guest today on the Mayor of Money podcast is Julie Cole. Julie's got a wonderful energy. She's full of infectious enthusiasm, but her background is entrepreneurship. She's a great speaker, a parenting expert, and she's a recovered lawyer, mom of six, and a co-founder of Mabels Labels, who helped her company bring their product to a worldwide market, gain media recognition, and win countless entrepreneurship awards. Julie's a regular television contributor, a sought-after speaker, and a syndicated blogger who has been featured in Huffington Post, Parenting.com, Today's Parent, Scary Mummy, The Globe and Mail, The Papaya Podcast, Savvy Mom, Forbes, Working Mother Magazine, and more. And she's also the creator and host of the popular live parenting show, Mabel Mom Cave, on Facebook, which has over 213,000 likes. Wow. So you've really adapted to social media. When it first came out, did you sort of grab onto it and just go from there?
We grabbed hold right away, Rick. And I'll tell you why. So when we started the business, it was pre-social media. But what we knew was that moms talk about products we like and products we don't like it's our full-time job. So we already knew the power of word of mouth, or as we call it, word of mom. You know, it's the old she told two friends and she told two friends. And you know, moms were talking about our product in real life. So, you know, at the daycare drop off or the side of the soccer field and that sort of thing. But once social media hit, we're like, whoa, this is a whole new vehicle for word of mouth that our moms can they can be talking about our product with their friends, on their blogs, on their Facebook. And it's a real space that moms have owned, right? So, I mean, my kids say they don't want to be on Facebook because that's where all the moms are, right? So we dove in, we were very early adopters. And, you know, I've been blogging for probably before people even knew what blogging was, and just really creating a really strong community, because we also know that moms want to feel connected to the brands they buy from. They don't want to buy from nameless, faceless brands. They want to buy from Julie. They want to buy from the moms in the basement who are making labels and, you know, very relatable, that sort of thing. So we worked very much on our brand story. We integrated that, and now we you know, like you mentioned, we've got a huge online community with, you know, over 200,000 Facebook fans and over 100,000 Instagram followers. And just, yeah, really, we really embrace that social media. And it has been a huge part of our marketing plan. One part of it, of course, lots of things are involved, but certainly we pay a lot of attention to our community, to SEO, to algorithms, to analytics, all that jazz. So it's a bit of fun.
So going back, you went to school in Burlington, you grew up here, you went to St. Gabriel School, you went to Aldershot High School, university locally, and then you became a lawyer. But was there any time prior to the establishment of Mabels Labels where you thought about going into business? Do you have a story when you were 8 years of age, you were selling, you know, lemonade on the street and you did really well with it? Do you have anything like that in your background?
You know, it's so funny because I think of entrepreneurialism as something like a talent, like music. So I think some people are born very musical, and then some people practice really hard and end up mastering an instrument. So I think entrepreneurialism is like that. I don't know. And I don't actually think I was born with the entrepreneurialism gene. And that was never really my intention. I was going to be a family lawyer. I was going to, I was working for a women's legal service. And that was my thing. Like, I just, you know, I'm very socially minded. And I thought I would always work for a nonprofit or, so that's what my plan was, but, you know, all good plans. So what happened was there was a little bit of a shift in that we had a good idea. So I started this company with 3 other women, and we were like, there's a product missing from the market. And I often say when people are going to start a business, you must know why you're doing it. So for us, there were the two whys. One was product missing from the market, where we had little kids, we're using masking tape and permanent marker and it's not working, or we're like, we can do better. So we did. And so that was our why. And often when people say, well, how do you come up with an idea, I always just say, like, go through your day and find out something that annoys you and fix it, right? Like, fill that gap, or make it prettier, or do something, right? So that was our why. There was a product missing from the market. Now, the second why for me was at that point, my eldest child, I had 3 kids. My eldest had just turned 3. I did pack those kids in tight, actually. So the oldest had just turned 3 and he received an autism diagnosis. And I felt that the traditional workforce wasn't going to suit my family anymore. And I really wanted to be able to advocate for him and set up a therapy program. I basically had a little school running out of my basement with therapists coming and going. So I wanted to be able to do that. So it was those two things. And just never looked back.
So you established Mabel's Labels. What year did the company become up and running?
Yeah, look, we are about next month, we celebrate our 19th birthday. So it would have been 2003, March 2003, that we sold our first labels.
But you're a co-founder of the company. There are other ladies involved with you.
Yeah.
And there were what, 4 of you at the beginning?
Yeah, there were 4 of us. And so it's also a family business because I started with my sister. And then we also had these 2 friends that we had met at University of Waterloo. And one went on to marry my brother and one went on to marry my young uncle. So as it turned out, we all ended up being family as well. So that also brings another dynamic. I mean, 4 is a big partner group. But I will say that having the 4 of us, particularly in those early days, was extremely helpful because I see my solo entrepreneur friends and they have to do everything, right? Like they're doing the product research, they're doing the marketing, they're dealing with the finances. We could really divide and conquer. And I think that really helped us kind of launch quickly and efficiently. And it also brought 4 different brains and skill sets to the table. So I think that was really helpful. And especially for us at the time when we were young moms and having kids and that sort of thing, if one of us was, having a baby or something, the others could kind of fill in and cover for each other. Or if one of us was feeling, that stress of, oh, we're never going to make it. How are we going to do this? What have we done? We've all left good careers. Are we crazy? Then the other 3 would be like, we got this. We're fine. We're good. Don't worry about it. You're fine. So we were really there to, provide great support for each other. Now, having said that, you do have 4 different brains at the table. And so that leads to a lot of, feisty conversation and everybody's got big ideas. But we really just had to learn how to communicate well with each other. And it took practice. We didn't always get it right, but we just kept working at it.
Was there any doubt? I mean, when you started out, were there doubts? But you're saying you were able to support each other. So one's going through a bad cycle mentally and wondering if it's all going to work out, but other ones were able to pick it up and say, "Come on, we can do this. We can do this." So was there always one of you that was there to lead the others during some challenging times?
Yeah, I think we really did work very collaboratively that way. And the thing too is that, of course, we had those moments of stress and doubt. And I mean, it changed my whole perception of business when I started Mabel's because we were in the basement making labels till 2 a.m., then getting up at 6 a.m. with the kids or going to day jobs and doing daycare drop-offs. Like it was crazy times. And, when I thought, how much emotional energy, financial energy, like just everything, that sweat equity that goes in. I would like drive by a shop that closed down and start crying for them. I'm like, dude, I feel you, man. And totally, you realize like everything out there has a person behind it and an entrepreneur behind it who's taken big risks and has an appetite for risk and has done those things. And it really it made me very empathetic to every business owner out there. So yeah, I think we were able to really support each other. We did it all together. And I think the other thing that really helped us was that we had some fairly early indicators that we were probably going to do okay. Our product was very well received and well liked, and it made a lot of sense. And again, going back to the word of mouth thing, people would see our labels out in the wild, like in daycare or on a water bottle at hockey or at camp. And moms would be like, where did you get that? What is that? I need that. And then, so it just, and we got a few nice like media hits, and that always helps too, because then other media is like, oh, what's going on here? I want to check this business out. And so that worked out great too. And having a good story always helps. The four moms in the basement, always a good line.
Well, I remember the late 1960s going to Camp Wanakita.
Oh, yes.
And my mother, I remember this, my mother ordering these labels, right, that she had to sew into every one of my socks, every one of my pairs of underwear, every shirt, every pair of shorts, everything. She sewed them, but she had to order them first. She had to order them first. And then she sewed them into my clothing. You think of the effort that she did for that.
And you know what? A lot of them didn't last. And a lot of them were, they're just so labor intensive. Like our clothing labels, you can peel and stick, so us busy moms now don't necessarily want to sew every, I guess 6 kids who go to summer camp. I'm not sewing in every pair of underwear. I can tell you that much, Rick.
So anyways, your company continued to be very prosperous. You continued to grow. And where are you at today? What's happened with the company today?
Okay. So after, I'm going to say, I guess it's probably almost 5 years, we ended up selling the company to Avery, who's owned by CCL. And we did that, I'm going to say 5 years ago. And it was because of a couple of good reasons. I think, the ideal is to like build it, grow it, scale it, sell it, right? Like that's really an entrepreneur's dream, and then move on to your next adventure. So we got approached by Avery, and they had been watching Mabels Labels, and we're big fans, and they're Avery Labels, right? So they called us out of the blue. We weren't actually looking to sell, but we were looking to do something. We were at a point, we'd been at it for like 14 years. The four of us were still running it kind of as co-CEOs. I think it was losing its efficiency. Like, I think we are getting the point where we're like, okay, maybe we need one CEO, or maybe we should bring in some fresh perspective from the outside, or maybe we should do, get some funding and really grow this thing. But we felt like we had to do something. And just as we were feeling that, we get a call out of the blue from Avery saying, are you open to a conversation? And we said, well, hey, sure, why not? So, we go out for dinner, have the conversation, nothing turned us off. So we kept talking. And at the end of the day, so that was July, and I think we closed at the end of December. So it was quick. And I think, because we were in that place of knowing we needed to shift something, and, a couple of the partners were getting restless, wanting to try different things and move on. 14 years is a long time. And then in the conversations, there were a few key things that Avery offered that made us, say yes in the end. One was that they weren't taking over Mabel's Labels. They weren't changing the brand. It's still in our little factory in Hamilton. It's still our employees. They realized the value of our brand and what we had built up. They said it would be a kiss of death for them to come in and get rid of Mabel's Labels. That's what they loved about us, was our brand. So that was a real winner for us. The other thing, although Avery's American, Avery's owned by CCL, which is Canadian, and we liked that too. So that was another bonus. And then I'd say the third thing, which was pretty important too, was the price tag. It had to be the right price, because there were 4 of us. So whatever we were going to sell for, we were all getting 25% of. So we wanted to make sure we got our value. And interestingly, Rick, because we weren't preparing to sell, that they just came after us, we didn't actually have a great EBITDA that year, because we were doing an investment year. We'd spent $100,000 on our new website. We had bought some equipment, and we were planning to reap the benefits of that over the next couple of years. So when they originally came and threw a number at us based on our EBITDA times 5 or whatever it is, the number wasn't high enough. And we said, hey, look, if we were planning to sell and preparing to sell, we would have made sure that EBITDA was really, really healthy for the sale price. But you guys are the ones who came to us, and we were in an investment year. So we went back to them, and they totally understood that and got that, and then gave us the right price. So it was those 3 things that probably, in the end made us say, yeah, let's do this thing. So it was a very fun New Year's Eve party that year. And champagne was on us. But it's interesting too, because now everybody's moved on. I'm the only partner, original co-founder that's still with the company. And I was required to stay on for a year. And a lot of companies, when they do an acquisition, do want, just some consistency and some that knowledge of the business. So I agreed to stay on for a year. But after the year, I was like, this is great. I'm still loving it. And they're like, we still love you. And so I just then became a regular employee. So I've still been there. Now we had 2 leave right away and start doing their own things. And then we had 1 who stayed on as the general manager for a couple of years. And then she recently retired out of that role. So yeah, I'm last man standing, so to speak.
But Julie, you have this infectious enthusiasm. You have a real sparkle, real energy. You're a mother of 6. Like your life is full. And
Yeah.
do you ever get phased? Do you ever get overwhelmed? Do you ever get down?
Right.
And if you do, I'm sure that it's not long lasting.
Yeah. Look, I think I do it pretty well. I've got a very high tolerance for chaos. And I think, you know what, like, I think the thing is that if I didn't, I wouldn't have had 6 kids, like you have what you're capable, because people say, oh, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, probably I have like lower standards than you do around a bunch of things. I don't beat myself up. I'm not a perfectionist. You can come walking in my house. It can be a mess. I'm okay. I don't really care if you think my house is a mess, because it kind of is. There's a lot of humans around, and I'm doing other things that are more important to me. So yeah, at my funeral, are they going to talk about my impeccable meals, my sparkling silverware? No, but I wouldn't want them to anyway.
So I know a lot of people reach out to you when they're going into business or they're in business and they want to get some perspective from you. And I understand, I can imagine it's a lot of different people, and both men and women. Do you have different advice for the genders?
Yeah, I do. And I also I do. I try to actually set up formal relationships. Like I take on a couple of mentors a year, and then it changes every year, just so that we can really, really dig in. I do get a lot of can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain? And I do try to be disciplined around that. So I try to set up like a half day every month where I might just do that. And if that doesn't fit in with the person who wants to pick my brain, then they can come to the session the next month, because I found that I was spending a lot of time having my brain picked and going for coffees. I can only drink so much coffee. I don't even drink coffee, weirdly. But I had to, and that was one of my things I learned about having to be, I have to be highly productive, right? I have a lot on. So I need to put some boundaries around my time and what I do and what I say yes to. I have, everybody's got a huge to-do list. I always keep a do not do list. What am I doing that I should be delegating out? As far as going into business, yeah, look, I think generally speaking, entrepreneurship right now is being highly romanticized. I think that a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to have all this flexibility and I'm going to make lots of money. And then I'm going to be a TEDx speaker and I'm going to do all these things. Well, honestly, you're in a basement making labels for a long time before that happens. And I don't know, I think people really have to understand that, what entrepreneurship looks like is, not going out for wine with your girlfriends. It is, literally kids are in bed and you're back on your laptop. It's, forgoing family holidays. It's forgoing, possibly a good salary until your company starts making money. And then sometimes it doesn't. And also, I think my biggest piece of advice for anyone going into business is, especially if they're going to do a side hustle and then transition, so they're working and side hustling and maybe have children or a spouse, I think your entire family has got to really understand what it's going to look like, and they have to be on board, because it is not glamorous. It's really hard. It's really hard. So if you have that appetite for risk and you're going to do it, I would make sure you're managing the expectations of the people in your life. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of frustration, and relationships can fail, or businesses can fail. So just make sure everybody's going in with eyes wide open.
With 6 children, that's a whole experience in itself. they obviously thrive under. But how do you coach your kids? What are some of the key tenets that you want to enforce into their psyches?
Right, right. So, I mean, there's a few things. We have like our family core values that we try to live by. And I really 100% think that this parenting gig is a role modeling game. And, there have been times where obviously I've missed, I was laughing with my kid Jessamy yesterday because there was always a conference that I spoke at her on her birthday. And it was in like California or New York. It was somewhere. So I was never home for her birthday. And, that sucks like that. There are certain things that these kids have missed out on, but then there's a whole lot of good stuff. Like they've been a part of this journey. They take a lot of pride in the work I've done. They've been a part of it. So they feel successful as well. And they also know that, without some of these things, some of the cons, they wouldn't get some of the pros, right? Like I can work from home a lot. I always was able to go to the apple orchard on the kindergarten trips. I was able to do those things. I can do volunteerism and that sort of philanthropic work is really important too. And so, they see me doing things like that, or they see me bringing it into business and bringing it into life and it becoming more a lifestyle. And I see them doing that now. And it's just a part of how things are. But I will say, parents often like try to teach their kids or tell their kids or nag their kids. But if you want your kids to act in a certain way, then you're probably best to act that way yourself. They're little sponges and they see everything. As we all know, we've all been caught out.
Yeah. Absolutely. So are there any books that you recommend that have been helpful to you that you think other people in business or going into business should read, or even books in general of, personal development to be a better mother, a better father, a better husband, a better wife?
All those things.
Do you have a bit of a list?
Look, I feel like there's a lot of podcasts out now, which are great. Love like that you're doing this, Rick. There's just so much out there. I find podcasts really efficient so that you can, if you're trying to do a workout as well, you can listen to a business podcast. Like there's a ways to multitask that, which is awesome. An early book that was really helpful for us in the early days, and I still stand by it, is Good to Great. And, talking about the differences between, what makes a business good and what makes it a business great. But speaking of books, I need to now just give myself a little plug because I'm in editing phase of my first book, which is coming out in May. So I will you'll be hearing more about that later, Rick.
We look forward to it. You spoke at my Rotary Club recently, and I must say you were absolutely fantastic. I've heard so many speakers over my career in all sorts of different walks of life, and I just thought, what you were talking about was real life, and you're talking about your family and how you've juggled. There were so many great messages that you shared and that you've shared during this podcast today that I'm very, very grateful for to have you on the podcast. Is there a business or an occupation that if you couldn't be doing what you're doing now, you'd love to do something else?
Yeah, I think probably if I was going to do a do-over, I probably would have gone into journalism. But at the same time, if this label thing never worked out, I really did I mean, I was just in the beginning of my law career, but it was a fit for me. The kind of work that I was doing, working for a women's legal aid service was really fulfilling. Although I could see, I can see the high burnout rate too. I mean, I was not in it very long and already, turning up to court and then to get, a restraining order for a woman. And then the guy turns up with flowers and she's like, it's okay. And I'm like, oh, it's not okay. But of course, the cycle of abuse. So you learn, but I can see also how the burnout's so high when, you work so hard and then that happens. But that's part of, how victims are, right? And that's how abuse works. So yeah, I think either I could have done the law thing or in journalism, I could have seen myself being like a morning show host.
Uh-huh.
And I'm coming for you.
You can have your own podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I
you
kind
do
of have fun
your own
with
show.
it. I do have fun with it with my lives with the Mabel Mom Cave. Yeah. Yeah, it's a
So
bit of
tell us
fun.
about that. So the Mabel Mom Cave, how often do you do
Yeah.
that? And it's a Facebook Live, correct?
It's a Facebook Live, but actually we shifted it recently to Instagram Live because most of our now our moms are mostly like our newer moms are on Instagram more. So some stuff we do on Facebook, and then these, I did shift recently to Instagram Lives for the Mom Cave, and it's great. We just bring on an influencer, or we bring on an expert of sorts who can provide great content, and we have a great conversation. Because you know what, it's all about giving your community excellent content. And at Mabel's, we always say they're labels for the stuff kids lose, but at the heart of everything we do is, are we making mom's life easier? With every product, with every podcast, with every bit of content we share, we're always thinking about how are we making life better for our community.
Well, Julie, sincere thanks for being on the Mayor of Money podcast. You have so much wisdom, so much enthusiasm, so much energy to share, and I thank you for what you're doing in the community. You're a very positive influencer on social media, and I thank you for that.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rick. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And thank everyone for tuning in and watching or listening to the Mayor of Money podcast with Julie Cole today. And remember, as we continue to struggle with this pandemic, to stay positive and test negative.
Thank you for listening to the Mayor of Money podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. If you'd like to have a one-on-one discussion with Rick or have an idea for a particular guest or topic, contact him at rick@rickgoldring.com. See you next time on the Mayor of Money podcast.